everybody, today I have a review for you of the Sigma Dry and Shape Towers. So I purchased both of these towers from Beauty Chamber. One was $39.99, which is the eye and face tower, and then the eye tower was £29.99. I actually purchased one and my hubby purchased me the other. So let me show you the packaging. Basically they both come in a box like this. The eye tower is slightly smaller. I've actually got rid of that box and I'm going to be getting rid of this now into the recycling, but I did keep it for the purpose of this video just so you could see how it would come. I didn't expect it to, I don't know why I didn't expect it to come in a fancy box, because it's Sigma and everything that Sigma does, they do present it really well. I just thought it was just going to come really quite small and I was going to think, oh, £40 for that. But then it came in this box and I was like, that's actually pretty impressive. So it's got a picture on the front of the tower with brushes and the tower without. And it holds 44 brushes. So this doesn't just dry your brushes, it actually reshapes them. I have a lot of brushes that kind of are sort of this shape, kind of dome shaped. And particularly sort of blending brushes, if you do a lot of blending in the crease, and I try to, I think I'm pretty rubbish at eye makeup as it is. I think I've got better, but I'm definitely no Nikki tutorials, that's for sure. But I do like to try and blend a colour into the crease. I think it looks really nice, which I've done today. But some blending brushes, when you've been using them for quite some time, they do start to splay outwards. And then you're not getting quite the effect that you want to, because the bristles are much wider and it's not such a tight area that you can fit the brush into. So this actually has little elastic bands on it that will actually, when you push your brush up into it, will hold the bristles in place as they dry and supposedly reshape them. Now, I guess that when you start using it, it may go back out into its splayed position quicker than it originally did when you first purchased it, but it should hold its shape for a little bit longer, better than when you would wash it normally. So the idea with the towers is that you can stand them individually or you can actually link them together. Each of the parts of the tower do link together and you can make the taller tower, which is what I've done here. And the great thing about this is it's such a space saver. When I would normally wash my brushes, I wash quite a lot in one go. I do have quite a lot of brushes, but
I'm going.
Alright.
Hi. Love you.
Trying to figure out how to kiss me without getting that on your lip. Okay.
Speak to you later.
Alright. Have a good day.
Bye.
So whenever I wash my brushes, I do tend to wash quite a lot of brushes at once. Face brushes and eye brushes. A really wide mix really. I do have a lot of brushes, but I do find that it's better that way, not only because I have, you know, spot prone skin, because when you have enlarged pores and oily skin and you're quite spot prone, you really do need to keep on top of cleaning those brushes so that you're not, if there's any bacteria on your skin and you're applying your makeup, that can get into your brush bristles and then the next day you put it back on your skin, you could be spreading it on other areas of your face. So I spot clean my brushes every single day as I go. I just use a tea towel and a brush cleaning spray. The one I'm currently using is the No. 7 Makeup Brush Cleanser. A couple of spritzes on one area and then I take the brush and I just rub it and clean it on there. So that's what I do on a daily basis as I use my brushes. But as brushes do get dirty, then I will actually pop them in my little IKEA plant pot and then they're there for washing. And the reason to have quite a few brushes is, so if I only had a few brushes, which is how it used to be, I found that I was needing to wash them, but particularly the face brushes, I just didn't want to because I knew that I wouldn't have them for the next day. So I'd have to think about washing them when I knew I wasn't going to be putting on makeup on the next day, and it was just a bit silly really. So I invested slowly in more brushes and I'm really glad that I did, because I got to try and get hooked on Zoeva brushes and Sigma brushes, and I've just started to get more into Sigma face brushes. But it's good to have more than one brush if you really like it for one particular job. I got the Sigmax Kabuki kit and I did a little mini review on it. I absolutely love those kabukis for foundation application particularly, and you got 5 in that set. So because I've got 5 of them and they all work particularly well for me, it's really great because I know that I can use one but then I'm going to have another one to fall back on once the other one's dirty. So for me, making an investment in a brush tower was really necessary, because when I wash my brushes, I can wash around 40 brushes at a time, sometimes more if I have a lot of eye brushes. I have a lot of eye brushes and I do like to use lots of different colours on the eyes. So after I've used them a couple of times, you start to see staining on the bristles and powder residue building up, even if you spot clean. So I like to just get them to one side and make sure that I can get them washed. Of course I do have my favourite brushes. I have recognised that, and I do need to actually invest in some of my favourite brushes, like in backups. So I have more than one of them, because sometimes when one of those is dirty, I'm kind of looking for it and I'm like, oh no, I haven't got that brush. And I, you know, try not to get too dependent on one brush, but sometimes you do develop crushes on brushes, so to speak, and you do get used to using the same ones. So for me, when I would wash that amount of brushes, like I can be washing 60 brushes at a time, they would be all over my bathroom. They're along the top of the radiator, they're on the windowsill, and no, the radiator isn't on, so they're just lying there. And then they're on the windowsill, they're on top of the cabinets, they're inside the bath lying on a towel. What a nightmare it is. They're just absolutely everywhere, and they don't always dry overnight. Eye brushes can often dry overnight depending on how long that is, depending on what time you actually wash them. And I prefer to wash them late at night because I bath late at night. So it's no good me lying a load of brushes in the bath and have to take them out and have a bath and put them back in. It takes forever for my bath to empty out because we've got a clawfoot bath. So I tend to wash them quite late at night, so often they're not dry the next morning. So really you're looking at the evening when they're going to be dry, so they just get in the way. And so I was looking for something that was going to be space saving, and then the idea that it would reshape some of the brushes was just, I just thought was a really great idea. And I thought it would work really well for me. The fact that it was going to be space saving and the idea that it said that it would actually dry the brushes a bit faster, that was another thing that I thought, well, that can only be a good thing. But also for the welfare of your brushes really, because when you dry a brush, you should never dry them standing up, which I will be honest, I've done that. When I first started to wash brushes, I just used to stand them in a pot on the windowsill and let them dry. But then I found out that you shouldn't do that because the water that's in the brush, even if you squeeze the water out of the bristles, you've still got moisture in there, and that can actually get down into the ferrule, and then that's when it starts to dissolve the glue that's holding the bristles into the ferrule, and then that's when you start to get shedding from the brush and it starts to corrode and rot the glue inside, and then, you know, you don't get as good a lifespan out of your brushes. And if you're spending good money on brushes, you don't want to have to worry about replacing them quickly. You should be able to have brushes for a very long time if you do look after them. So it's another thing is hanging them upside down is a really great way to then not have that happen because the water is coming out and it's not settling inside that ferrule. So it's got a lot of plus sides, this particular tower. The price is probably a downside, but it's an investment, and that's what I see it as. It's just one of those beauty investments where it's a little bit pricey, but it's going to last you forever, essentially, if you look after it. And it's going to be really great for the lifespan of your brushes. And if it lengthens the lifespan of your brushes, you're spending less money on replacing those brushes. So in the long term, it's a financial beauty investment. I sound like some kind of bank advisor, but that's what it is. And that's what I see it as. So I'm actually just, when I'm not using it, I probably will just break it down and store it in a glossy box because I think it'll fit, or in some kind of box. I'll find some container to store it in. But as it is, I'm drying my brushes and they're in this one space. It's a tiny space and it's absolutely full. And I'm so thrilled with it. I think it's fantastic. I love that you can stack it like that. It's been standing in the corner of the bathroom. I haven't got brushes everywhere. I'm not knocking them off and worrying about them getting on the floor and contamination, and yeah, they're drying properly. So I'm gonna share it with you now because I've waffled on long enough. This is what it looks like. So it's made out of white plastic and it's kind of like a cake, like, you know, a wedding cake. So you get the different tiers, which are the circular parts, and then in between you get the sort of rods that hold them up. And you've got the ones that have got the pink clip parts on. Now I do have one part that's not used because I've clipped two towers together and you aren't able to clip the other one onto here. But you get the pink parts, and these ones are one smaller than the other so that you can obviously have that layering effect. So you've got this, and it has the Sigma logo branded on it. I don't know if you can see. But you clip your brushes in, and then the next section is another clip section for brushes, but on this section underneath there is a white section and it's got these elastic things on. Now these elastic things are meant to reshape your brushes, and I think as well they're meant to kind of soak the moisture up into them. So what you do is you push your brush up from underneath into there, and you can push it up and then slide it into here. But as you get more and more brushes in here, that becomes a difficult procedure because you're trying to kind of figure out how can I do that, how can I get in. So what I did was I kind of pushed it in, but out like that. And then when I got it positioned correctly at the bottom, I just popped it into place. I just clipped it in. So then I'm going to come off They are all clipped in place. Then underneath there you've got another circular part, but this has got large clips on it, and this is for the face brush part. And then at the bottom it's got the sections with the elastic on again. Now these elastics do have some give. If you give them a little tug, you can feel it moving from inside, that, you know, there is a little bit of give on them. So they are a little bit tight at first, but what I'd recommend on the face brush is one that made me a bit easier for me first use. I just kind of pulled them out slightly as I was doing as I was getting them in, pulled it out with my finger, used my other hand to get it in, and that worked really well for me. I didn't struggle at all with it. And the only ones that won't fit in are the Real Techniques ones, because these have very flat, wide ferrules. So if you do have brushes that have flat ferrules, I mean, I know that the Sigma contour brushes, they're not going to work in here because these are more geared for round brushes. So if you have a lot of oblong brushes, they're not going to work, but all I did there was I just let them free hang. So I've got my Real Techniques here, and it's just not in one of these elastic things. This is just, you know, it's just clipped in place and hanging to dry. And it is dry. So I washed these yesterday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it is now, it's 2:24. So it's been 24 hours, and I'm going to take some of the brushes out and take a look at them. Now the top layer, they are just hanging upside down and they're not held in any elastics. And the ones that I put up there are the ones that really don't need reshaping. This is kind of an oblong sort of brush, kind of brushes that you use to pack shadows on with. So those ones are fine. These are all really dry. They're perfect. They are bone dry. So I can take all of these ones off. Now what I've got on this tower is a mixture of brushes. That's the ones off the top layer. So on the top layer I had a few spaces, but I had 15 brushes on the top layer. There's a mixture of brushes here. I've got Neve Cosmetics, Sigma, Zoeva. Yeah, that's everything that's on the top. So these are your little sections with your rubber clips, and on the bottom you have a hole, and as you can see it's got indentations at one side, and then the rod itself has those little indentations. You fit it on top of there and then you turn it and you'll feel it lock in place, and then that's it. That's not going anywhere. It's nice and secure. So it is a nice secure fit, but it's not fiddly to put together. It's not like bolts and clips and things like that. So you literally can just take the sections on and off very easily. They just clip on and off, and there you go. So the next section are the ones that actually are held in place with the elastic. So let's take a look at these. It's dry. This one was very widely splayed out. That was very widely splayed out. That has got that nicely shaped. It doesn't feel like, when I push it out, it doesn't feel like it automatically just wants to go poof back out to the shape it was in, or the misshape it was in. And it is perfectly dry. Very nice. Okay, so that's just one. I'll take a few more out and we'll take a look at them. So what I'm doing is just popping them out at the top from the clip, then pulling them out of the little elastic part. That one is one of my favourite ones. It's the exact blend from Sigma, and that one was a little bit wider, and I love using that for a bit more sort of defined crease. So all of these are perfectly dry. These ones I'm so impressed, because when I blend, over time, I've had these quite some time, they do start to go splayed out quite a bit because you're working in that crease and you blend them backwards and forwards, and of course that's going to shift the bristles around. But these ones here, they've just reshaped really, really beautifully. They've gone really back into shape, really have gone back in a really nice shape. So I'm really impressed with that actually. So yeah, they are really, really good, and they are all dry. So moving down, we're now moving down to the face brushes. Brushes everywhere. So in the bottom here, like I said, I've got these Real Techniques one there. I've got the arched powder brush. Now to me, that feels like it's got a tiny hint of moisture. I wouldn't say it's at the base, I would say it's at the bristles. Obviously the moisture has travelled down. It just feels like, not wet, but you know, that kind of coolness where you can indicate that there's a dampness to it. It definitely has that about it. The contour brush slightly has the same on the edges, but they are really, really nice, yeah. And these are very fluffy, dense brushes, and they would normally take longer to dry. This contour brush, 301 from Real Techniques in the Bold Metals, it's one of my favourite brushes ever, and it just does take forever to dry. So I'm quite impressed with that. So hanging upside down has obviously helped the moisture move a lot quicker. And can I mention this brush? I use these brushes all the time on different coloured products, but this one in particular. And the Sigma brush cleaner mat that I did a video on, I'll link it below. That is another beauty investment. I've tried the dog groomer glove. I've tried the trivet that you stand hot pans on in your kitchen. I've tried lots of different textured things that you get from the pound shop. None of them, believe me, work like the Sigma brush cleaner mat. It's in the 20s. Yes, it's pricey. Yes, I know. You could buy a lot of stuff at the pound shop for your £25 or whatever it is. But it's a huge investment. It makes such a difference to how clean I get my brushes. My brushes have never been so clean, particularly like when I use foundation and like contour and bronzing, and they just come up like they are brand new. I mean, look at that. I use that for bronzing and it's just, they're like new. So like I said, I can feel a coolness on those bristles, but they're not wet. So that's good. Now I've also got some Neve Cosmetics brushes in here. I did put a couple of the eye brushes in here because the Neve Cosmetics do have very chunky handles. These are perfectly dry. There was no misshaping with these. That's what I will say is brilliant about the Neve Cosmetics. The bristles have enough firmness in their shape that they don't seem to splay out, no matter, you know, no matter how much abuse you give them. They are fantastic brushes. I've been really impressed with these. I was sent these to review initially by Beauty Chamber, and they are fantastic brushes. I highly recommend them, and they're not too badly priced either. But I've got a couple of face brushes from Neve that I've got in here. So, oh, actually that's dry. That's really great. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, sorry, got a bit distracted there. That's really good. So this is another Neve Cosmetics brush. I actually use this to contour, another beautiful contour brush. A lot cheaper than the Bold Metals, but really, really nice. It's just got a slightly wider headspace. But this is a really nice brush, and this is completely dry. It didn't need any reshaping, but I put it in there because it's a larger face brush. Now this one's still wet at the end, but this is a very, very dense brush. This is the powder brush from Neve Cosmetics. This is a beautiful powder brush. It's so, so soft. I compare it to, I got a little kabuki brush in the Too Faced contour kit, and I would compare it to the Too Faced brush that was in there. And they say that's like teddy bear soft bristles. That's what this brush has. That's what the Neve Cosmetics brushes feel like to me. They are very comparable to Too Faced. The bottom of the bristles, very, very dry. The top of the bristles, they are still wet. Not even damp. I can actually feel the moisture on my fingers. So what I'll do is I'll just pop that in, but not put it inside the elastic, and just let that finish off air drying. The rest of the brushes I've got in here are Sigma and Zoeva. Zoeva is a similar sort of size handle as Sigma, and just tiny bit chunkier for some of their face brushes, but they do fit in here nice. But I did find that putting my eyeliner brush in, the very fine eyeliner, it was difficult to get it to stay because these are a little bit too wide, and that's a very fine handled brush, so I did have to push it quite far up in order for it to stay in here. So that's just something to keep in mind. I couldn't have them all at the same height, so if you've got very thin brushes you are going to have to kind of play around with placement. So let's remove some of the brushes from the bottom. Oh, this is beautiful. Right, okay, so this is a Zoeva brush, and this was really widely splayed, and that has really shaped that back in. That's really nice. And that's dry. So these ones seem to be dry. I think it depends on the depth of the bristles. Even the kabuki's dry, to be honest, so that's quite good. So as you can see, you've got quite a variety of shapes and size brushes that fit inside this. So this one is the Zoeva as well, but this one's the powder brush. Again, it's another powder brush, so I think the powder brushes need that a little bit longer. So maybe after your 24 hours, you might want to pull out your powder brush from the elastic and then just pop it in the side and leave it like that and just let those air dry. I did see another review where somebody said, oh yeah, my brushes have dried in a third of the time. I wouldn't say that. I'd expect my eye brushes to dry in 24 hours because they're smaller. Sometimes the more dense ones did take longer, so I am impressed that that definitely did cut down on the time of the denser, larger and fluffier brushes. That's very impressive to me that it's cut down on that. But looking at powder brushes, things that have a lot of fibre to them and a large brush head, they're going to take a little bit longer still to dry. Well, this one's dry. Look at the shape. It's gone back to its dome. Wow. Okay. I know, I keep saying wow, but it's actually pretty impressive. Okay, so out of all of the brushes that were in this tower, 3 brushes need a little bit longer. So now that you can see the tower without the brushes, it is very much like a wedding cake. So these little bit elastics here, I think they say Sigma Beauty, do they? They're upside down, which is a bit bizarre, because when you stand it this way, it says Sigma Beauty, but it's the wrong way. I think that those should be the other way. And I'm not being picky, I'm just kind of saying it's weird that that's right and it's upside down. But they do have a bit of give on them. But they're very, very strong, thick elastic. So I feel like you can feel that this is not cheap elastic that's going to just immediately give, or it's going to get really bigger. You can definitely feel the quality of the elastic. It's very, very strong and thick. And like I said, they just clip apart so easily. And I love how on the tower parts, the rods, it has Sigma printed on it. So it's not just like they've thought, oh yeah, let's just get these cheap bits of white plastic, and they've not put a lot of detail into it. So I think I've waffled on enough now, bent your ears enough, but I do think that this is a great investment. I know that it's a lot of money to pull out at once, but it's something that will last you for years. It is a great space saving idea, but it's also a great idea to reshape your brushes that over time with wear have become more splayed out. Don't throw them away if they're still good brushes. They don't shed, they're great quality. Just because they've gone out of shape, it doesn't mean you have to throw them away. You can get something like this that will reshape them, and I am so impressed with the reshape and it's done on those blending brushes. So I'm very excited about that. Drying time does seem like it is a lot better. My powder brushes would take days to dry anyway, and like I said, they're just wet at the tips. So I think that overnight those will become dry. Even by the end of the night, the end of the day, I think that those brushes will be nice and dry and ready to use. But it's great. I love it, and I can't sing its praises enough. I think it's worth investing in, like I said, for the space saving and for the reshaping of the brushes, but also just because if you like brushes and you buy nice brushes and you want to keep them for a very long time and maintain your brushes really well, then this is a really great investment piece. It's a whole part of that. So I kind of see the whole thing like the Sigma brush cleaner mat. It was a huge thing for me to get my brushes cleaner, and that was one step. Now I feel like this is the final step, so now I can wash them properly and I can dry them properly. So I think that's really, really great. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll put the links for both of the towers, a beauty chamber, in the information bar below so that you can check it out if you do want to purchase it. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe if you had. I'm going to love and leave you there and see you in the next video. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are and whatever you are doing. Bye.